selection for the opening race of the meeting, Supreme Novices Hurdle, is the Willie Mullins trained Appreciate It. Appreciate It is a horse that's going to stay further in time, even now, to be fair. This is probably a bit of an afterthought stepping back to 2 miles, but they've not it's been no secret that this horse has a lot of pace. He shows a lot of pace at home. Therefore, they did step him back in trip to 2 miles for his last couple of runs, and he's certainly showed that pace which you need to win the Supreme, and you also need a bit of that stamina as well.
The second last flight of hurdles, Ballyadam and Blue Lord right in behind them. Third and fourth places, second last, Just Appreciate leads. An error back in the field from Ballyadam in fourth position, and now Appreciated heads towards home. Blue Lord is in pursuit, but he's 3 lengths behind him, and this Appreciate is lengthening away. Appreciated is into the home straight with a 5-length lead. Blue Lord in second, For Pleasure in third, Soaring Glory and Ballyadam the next pair, but as they come towards the last, Appreciate It up and over safely, landed with a 10-length advantage. Blue Lord has gone at the final flight of hurdles. Ballyadam and For Pleasure are fighting out second and third, but Appreciate It, he's a wide margin winner. He must be 20 ahead. What an easy success. Paul Townend and Appreciate It have won. Second place to go to Ballyadam, For Pleasure in third, then Soaring Glory, Irascible from Grumpy Charlie and Métier.
But as mentioned just moments ago, Shishkin is my big hope for this race. He's a horse that I really think's going to go to the top over the next couple of years. I'm hoping he can win Tuesday's Arkle and then go on to race Senior Company next season and have a tilt at the Queen Mother Champion Chase.
They're round the home turn, they've got 2 to jump. It's a 5-length lead for Shishkin and Nico de Boinville at the second last. Got over it well, All Mankind in second, and then Captain Guinness in third, Eldorado Allen behind him in fourth. The last fence, Shishkin at the final fence, pings it. He's clear, he's 10 lengths ahead from All Mankind in second. Captain Guinness bravely running on in third. Eldorado Allen is catching him, but he's sauntering home. Shishkin, easy as he likes. He's hard on the bridle here with Nico de Boinville. Shishkin has won the Sporting Life Arkle in magnificent style. Eldorado Allen has grabbed second. Got in second position to Captain Guinness, All Mankind in fourth.
And another one reads the script. Shishkin, long odds on, wins the Arkle.
In the Mares' Hurdle, obviously I'm really strong on the favourite, but again, rather like in the Arkle, the horse is just too short on the day, so I will put out a tentative selection each way on Black Tears, but out of the ones that I think are a fair price, I think Black Tears has the best chance of putting in a solid run.
Sana has taken over as they approach the second last. Concertista a little untidy there, clipped the top, but now being produced to challenge the white-faced mare. Coming between Roxana and Indefatigable. My Sister Sarah out wide, chasing hard, and then Black Tears. 5 of them come by 3 lengths as they swing the turn, but it's Concertista who pokes her nose ahead. Roxana on the right is battling on. Here's Black Tears with her striped cap. Indefatigable on the left, and then My Sister Sarah. The final flight, Concertista, little untidy, length and a half clear. Black Tears challenging strongly on the near side. 2 Irish mares dominating the finish. Concertista driven all out. Black Tears pestering all the way to the line, closing down. It's tight. Black Tears on the near side of Concertista. Heads up, heads down. Roxana back in third. Indefatigable in fourth. It will go to the judge at the end of the Close Brothers Mares Hurdle.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Reprieve Media CIC double handful coverage of the 2021 Cheltenham Festival. I'm Paul Newman. Before we get going, let me just explain what's happening this year. What we've done is myself and Stephen Allpress we've not really talked together, but what we have done is we've pre-recorded some segments about the races that we fancy and the horses that we're looking at over the next week or so. And I'm going to sit here and hopefully edit them together in a way that people might not be able to tell that we've done that, if that makes any sense. So without further ado, we're going to start looking Obviously, it's a funny old festival this year. I mean, people only need to look at the runners to see that, the lack of them. The prize money is considerably lower than past years for some reason. Can't see why that is. And obviously, the massive thing is that there is no crowd. I mean, that to me is a massive red flag. These are premier athletes we're talking, premier equine talent. And there's something in the back of my mind that thinks they would perform better with the roar of the crowd. It's been on my mind really since all this nonsense started. And I think if people look at some of the results that they've seen and the way some of these races have been run, I think it's borne out in the evidence. I'm thinking really of the Derby. I'm thinking of Silver Street beating Epatante at Christmas. I'm thinking of Altior losing to Nube Negra. I mean, to me, I might be 100% wrong. I don't think that would have happened in front of a full house, any of them races, in that way. So we're gonna crack on anyway, but that's always going to be at the back of my mind when I'm looking at my personal selections. I think it's only fair to let you all know that. We're going to start our coverage of day 3 of the 2021 Cheltenham Festival by looking at the Grade 1 Marsh Novices Chase over 2.5 miles. And it's over to Steve for his view of the race.
Thank you for tuning in. This is Stephen Allpress again with my thoughts and selections for day 3 of the Cheltenham Festival. I hope everybody's had a good opening to the festival, and hopefully I can guide you through some more winners. So we're going to go on to day 3 of the Cheltenham Festival, which is Thursday. And I'm going to start off here with the Grade 1 Marsh Novices Chase over 2.5 miles. I'm going to start off with the warm order favourite in the name of Envoy Allen. He's an Irish trained horse who was recently with Gordon Elliott, who's obviously been suspended. And the horse has since transferred over to the Henry de Bromhead yard. Envoy Allen, he's been to Cheltenham on 2 occasions, one a couple of years ago for the Weatherby's Champion Bumper, and more recently, last year, he went to the Ballymore Novices Hurdle. He's been over there twice, he's won both times. He's currently unbeaten under rules, and this season he's taken up the novice chase route, and up to now he's been flawless. Looking at him at his strengths, he's a lovely horse. He's very economical. He's got a lovely temperament. He's a horse that's nice and relaxed, and most importantly, he's such a beautiful jumper. I don't think I've seen him really make a mistake up to now, and I think that's very important going into a race like this on Thursday. Is he value at his current price? Well, I wouldn't like to say either way, but I certainly wouldn't say, looking at him is something I would oppose. I think he's got real strong form lines. We know he handles the track. He's versatile on ground. So for me, if anybody was looking to get stuck into him at these short odds, I certainly wouldn't put you off. Obviously, he's a horse that's obviously got a big future ahead of him, not just for like Thursday's race, but like looking ahead, he's a horse that's been touted as maybe a future Gold Cup horse. I guess only time will tell, but he's certainly got the world at his feet as things stand. So yeah, for this race, Envoy Allen is my selection. However, just to mention on a couple of the other runners in the race, because this isn't a one-horse race, although the odds might state otherwise. There are a couple of, 2 or 3 horses in this race that are in the race on merit. They're worthy contenders, and they'll fancy them chances themselves. The first of which I'll mention is Shan Blue from the Dan Skelton stable. Shan Blue's a lovely horse. He ran behind Shishkin over novice hurdles at Huntingdon last year. He's gone chasing this season. He's won a couple of races. His most recent victory was won at Kempton on Boxing Day in the Corto Star Novices Chase. He's a horse that's got a fair bit of speed about him, so 2.5 miles on some nice ground, where he can kind of try and dictate matters out in front, and his strength is jumping, I'd say. So if he can get a nice ride on the front end, he's going to be one that's certainly in the mix as the race develops. Another one I really like is the Nicky Henderson trained Chantry House, owned by JP McManus. Chantry House was third in last year's Supreme Novices Hurdle behind both Shishkin and Abracadabras, and he started off his campaign with a nice win, but then next time out he was bitterly disappointing. But it's since come out that he has had a bit of a back problem, and that apparently has now been resolved. So he's certainly appears to be resolved, because he since had a warm up for Cheltenham, and he come out and won quite nicely on ground that was probably too soft for him ideally. So he's another horse that's looking to take a step forward, but he's certainly a horse with some nice potential, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's involved too. So I think I've covered the main three in the race, but obviously my selection has to be Envoy Allen. I've not seen no chinks in his armour up to now, and I'd like to take the chance and just hope that he produces his best form on the day. If not, one of the other two I mentioned are going to be players, and they might just they might just be the ones to benefit if Envoy Allen isn't quite right on the day. But yeah, for race one, just to clarify, my selection is Envoy Allen.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Steve, for looking at the first race of the day on the third day of the 2021 Cheltenham Festival, the Marsh Novices Chase. To me, I'm not a massive fan of these 2.5 mile chase races, sir. They're either too slow for the Arkle or don't stay for the RSA. That's the same, isn't it? I mean, we've got the same problem later on, haven't we, with the Ryanair chase? But you are correct. This to me is one of the best renewals I've seen of the race. I mean, you know me, I've had winners of the race before in York Hill. I'm not, and Sandcrow, I'm not knocking the race, but look what happened to the pair of them looking forward, Not the world beaters we thought they are they? Why is that? Why are they running in this race? Envoy Allen is the top of the market, and obviously so. He's been the dominant Irish horse, really, for 3 years at his trip. He won the bumper. He won the Ballymore Hurdle last year. He's turned up here rather than face Shishkin or Monkfish. You can say he's ducked the big races. But he's still 11 of 11 under rules, so either he's ducking a lot of races or he's decent. The Dam is a half-sister to a horse that finished second in the Arkle this year, Eldorado Allen. There is Cheltenham form there. I touched on that yesterday. He's got an obvious chance, really, on form, and he could be very hard to beat. The main UK-based challenger looks to be Shan Blue. Although that was beaten by a horse that turned up in the RSA. There we go again. Sporting John, last time out. But before that, it was a Grade 1 winner over 3 miles. 6th behind Envoy Allen in the Ballymore last year. But to me, I think he could find the favourite a bit too hot to handle here. Chantry House. I don't know about this one. To me, he looks a bit quirky. Looks to have a good look at some of these fences. I noticed it on his debut. He's not one that convinces me over fences, if I'm honest, at this stage. But he did have a confidence booster on his last start. The Dam is a half-sister to a dual-listed winning hurdler called Nancy Miles. But to me, others just look a bit more solid. Chatham Street Lad is one of the more experienced runners. He's a seasoned horse in comparison to some of these. This is his 9th chase run. He performed well in the Irish and Cheltenham Handicaps last 2 starts. But to me, he needs to prove he belongs with some of these levels. Proven Grade 1 winners, Envoy Allen and Shan Blue. And this one as well. Could be a forgotten horse, maybe. Fuzil Raffles. You know, Connections, I've always thought highly of this horse. You only have to look at the form to know that. And he hasn't let them down, really. He's a Grade 1 winning hurdler, so you can't knock the horse. He looks smart on occasions, and shocking on occasion in equal measure, really. Risky but talented. Sums up them colours, really. You never quite know what you're going to get. But on a going day, they are nigh on unbeatable. Travel so well in races. The dam, Tally Desarbo, I actually do remember because I wrote an article about the Munir Mare Dispersal, and she was one of them. There's plenty of relations to Fuzil Raffle down the line. About another 4 or 5 that have sold it now, I think. Dam is a listed place hurdler and chaser. But more interestingly, she's also a half-sister to the Dam of 7-time Grade 1 placed hurdler and chaser. Multiple pattern race winner, Alpha Desarbo. Good horse. Still going round now, but towards the end of its career, it has to be said. So to me, that's an interesting one. Asterion Falange sort of came and went as quickly as he arrived, really, in my opinion. Grade 1 novice hurdler last year, and on the back of that, he was made quite a warm order. I think he was more fancied than Shishkin in last year's Supreme Novice Hurdle. He's finished 4th there. He made a good debut over fences, but since then he's fell twice. And at this level, round here is enough to put me off him, really. I'm loath to say these days he'll do well to get round because the fences are so soft. But I think he'd have done well to get round 20 years ago. Black Bow, funny horse. You look at his bumper form when he first started his career. He looked quite good. He was placed in the Cheltenham bumper and he was won a Grade 2 bumper. And then, which is sort of the opposite of what's meant to happen, he seems to have regressed over hurdles and fences. I mean, you don't see that very often. And he looks to have it all to prove now as a consequence of that, really. To me, the last one, Dava Star, you don't know. I can't see why it's such a big price. If you look at some of his hurdle form, some top efforts in there. He was 3rd in last year's champion hurdle. But again, over obstacles, a bit like the horse we talked on yesterday, Fiddler on the Roof. You know, it's not really improved anything over fences than hurdles. And that has to be a worry. And that's obviously worried people closer to these horses than me, because that's why he's the outsider of the field. But if he was to rediscover his form from this time last year, I could not rule him out against these. You know, this is a race that the favourite, really, if he's anything, should dominate, I think. But, you know, he's ducked the 2 big ones, isn't he? You know, is there 3 good horses, or is this an intermediate horse? You know, Sam Crow, York Hill, you know, they come into these races with lofty reputations, and they won it. You know, I've looked at the pedigree of Shishkin, you know. I've looked at the pedigree of Monkfish. You know, I wouldn't say that Envoy Allen, you know, he's obviously won 11 out of 11 races, and odds on. But to me, I'm going to chance the Munir horse. And I've been waiting to chance one all week at a price that I know's got talent and reasonably well bred for them. They've got some better bred ones than this. But Fuzil Raffles, to me, would be a very, very tentative each-way selection in this race. Right, we're going to take a look now at another of the Grade 1 races on the card, over the same distance as this race, actually, the Grade 1 Ryanair Chase. It's a tricky race. I'm going to hand it over to Steve and see what he makes of it, and then I'll come back. Steve, it's over to you, sir. Good luck with this one. Over to you. Thank you very much for listening, and all the best.
Now we're going to go on to the 3rd race on the card, which is the Ryanair Chase, a Grade 1 over 2.5 miles. Looking through the runners, I would say this is quite possibly the most competitive Grade 1 race at the entire meeting. Why, you may ask, is because there's probably 7 or 8 horses capable of winning this race if they put their best foot forward. These runners in this race, many of them have some very, very good form, but at the same time, those horses also have some lackluster performances in their form lines. And, so therefore, this is going to be a case of which horse can put their best foot forward on the day. And it might be the difference between running, 3rd place, running a decent race, or putting their best foot forward, as I mentioned, and winning the race. It's I've looked through at these runners in detail, and I keep going over and over it, and it's very difficult to know who's gonna turn up on the day. Even like ground conditions can play a big part in this race, because there's not much between them all. These kind of things will have a big bearing on the outcome. So I could go through each runner in immense detail, but it's just very, very difficult to put my finger on what is actually going to happen in here. We've got last year's winner in Min, who's a lovely horse. He's been placed in the Champion Chase before. He won last year's renewal, but and he got off to his season with a flyer, but since then he was pulled up at the Dublin Festival, and that's not a way to come into the a race of this like nature. So that'd be a concern for me. On his best form, yes, I would fancy him, but on that last run, it'd be a big concern for me. We've got last year's Marsh Chase winner and runner-up, Sam Crow, Melon. Again, Sam Crow, he's been a horse that's, when he's hot, and when he's cold, he's very cold. You just cannot predict what he's going to do on the day, but he's a horse that has huge ability, but it's just knowing what he's going to do. Melon, he's a horse, again, that's, he's been placed multiple times at the Cheltenham Festival without winning, but he's a lovely horse, and if he put his best run in, he could certainly play a big part in this race. But he was tried over a little bit further last time in a Gold Cup trial, and it clearly didn't suit him, so maybe that run can be ignored. But again, it's not something you ideally want to see going into a race like this. You've got Allaho, who's currently, I'd say, the favourite for this race. He did actually win last time, and he has been placed before at the festival, but to me, he doesn't look bomb-proof. He's a horse that's had little issues in the past, and I just wouldn't be confident in him either. You've got Mr. Fisher from the Nicky Henderson yard. He's a horse that's also got a lot of ability, but he is also very ground dependent. So the better the ground is, the more chance he'd have of running a big race. Any cut in the ground, or if it was to rain, which I think's a little bit unlikely now at this stage, he would probably struggle. But like, as I say, the drying ground will benefit him, so you couldn't write him off. Another horse I really like at the beginning of the season, Imperial Aura from the Kim Bailey stable. Lovely horse, won at the festival last year. Lovely jumper. Well, I thought so until last time. And he last time in his trial for Cheltenham unseated the rider. Very unlike him. So again, that's not good going into the festival. So for me, there's a lot of questions to answer here from a lot of the horses in the lineup. So, I am going to make a selection, but it would be more hopeful rather than confident. My selection, just for the listeners out there, I'm going to give one more chance to Min from the Willie Mullins stable. I'm going to give him that chance. He pulled up last time after clouting a fence pretty early on in the race. I'm hoping that, he's back on track now, and we'll see another big run from him. But as I said, it's more of a hopeful rather than confident selection. But it is my selection, Min. Min is my selection for the Ryanair Chase.
Thank you very much, Steve. A fantastic look there at one of the Grade 1 races of Day 3 of the 2021 Cheltenham Festival. the Ryanair Chase. I mean, I think he summed that race up perfectly, to be honest. I think if ever a race reflected the sponsors, this is it. Quantity over quality all day long of the week. 5-1 the field. You can throw a net over all of them, and they'll probably all fall out the holes in it. It's an absolute dog of a race, in my opinion. But I'm going to go through the field and see what I can make of it. Allaho was third behind Champ in the RSA 2020, so it's got good form. That looked at it. The horse it beat last time out, Elime, is favourite for the Mayor's Chase. It beat that by 3 lengths. In what looks a virtually impossible race, I have that one down on form as one of the more solid options. Min, to me, he's always been a bit of an enigma, this horse. It won the race last year. It won well, dug deep well. So it had a lightly race campaign, but as Steve's already touched on, it was pulled up on its most recent start. I have no doubt that if Min is at his best, he is the class act of this field, which in a race like this will make him dangerous. Because if he puts his best foot forward, he'll beat these. Imperial Aura, to me, is an interesting one. If you look at the form of the festival win last year after Galvin's win in the National Hunt Chase yesterday, it reads well. But equally worrying is, where that's good, equally worrying is the fact that on his course trial, last time out, he fell. But I do think it's dangerous to dismiss that one. The same has to be said of Fakir Duderiz. He's tried the distance once and he's won at it. He's a lot younger than some of the others. Connections have always shown a lot of faith in him. I go back to when he was 4. They didn't go for the Triumph. They went for the Supreme with it. It didn't work out that day for him. It seems sure to be there or thereabouts, I think, looking at his form. And if I will say here that market support, if this horse is backed in a race like this, I think people need to take note because of the connections. Melon has finished second at 4 Cheltenham Festivals. Flatters to deceive on the big day. It came with such a lofty reputation when it was in the Supreme Novices Hurdle all them years ago. It hasn't won a race since December 2019, over a year now. So you're asking me what's going to win this race? Melon hasn't won a race since 2019. On to the next one. Mr. Fisher. This is an interesting one, a second season novice, because in a lot of these are what they are. No disrespect to them. But this one I feel does have the scope to maybe improve a little bit, which if he does, I don't think it will give him a lot to find. If you look at the Marsh Chase in 2020, he was 4th behind Samquo in that race. Dangerous to rule out that one, I think. St. Calvados is hit and miss. That's the best way I can describe it. On his day, he looks a decent animal. He was runner-up in the race last year, in what was a similar race. So if he can be a runner-up in a race last year, I know he's a year older, I think he's another one. Dangerous to rule that one out. Brings me on nicely to the enigma of the race, I think, Sam Crow. I mean, if a horse has ever had a more loftier reputation entering National Hunt racing, I want to see what it is. Because despite winning at the last 2 Cheltenham Festivals, I know it's silly how this sounds, this horse has got loads of questions still to answer, in my opinion. He won the Marsh Chase last year. You'd think, what a trial for this race, maybe even the Gold Cup. But this year, very disappointing. He's raced twice. He's only got round once. And then he needed binoculars to see the lad. Serious questions to answer now. But he's, without any shadow of any doubt in my mind, got the talent to answer these questions. And if people were to look at what price he was, then dangerous. Dangerous horse. As I think Dash El Drasher could be. If you look at his form, on his last 3, compared to some of these, if you look at his last 3 starts, he's won them all. He's improved on every start, including a Group 1 win on the last start. How can you ignore this horse in a wide open race? Real Steel, on the other hand, if you look at his form, through some of the Irish horses, I think there's a few ahead of him in this race. Too many to be a factor here, I feel. And the same you have to say about Chris's Dream, unfortunately, because he's a game horse. Always tries his hardest. Stick him in a Group 3 or Grade 3 or a Grade 2, he's probably at his level there. Then he's found this level a bit too hot in the past. Tornado Flyer was a good bumper horse, a runner-up in the bumper, in his bumper year. But again, he hasn't won a race since 2019, Kalashnikov. Well, what can I say about that horse? You know, I've followed this horse for quite a while now, and it's defying me every time. It looks quirky as anything now these days. I've got it down as some sort of a Grand National horse now, type horse. Just looks to hit flat spot and stay on, and then hit flat spot and stay on. He had a wind up last year, missed Cheltenham, and in his 3 starts after that wind up, doesn't seem to have done made one iota of difference. You know, connections have always thought a lot of this horse. It was second in a Supreme Novices hurdle, and he needs to start to reward the faith of them soon, I think, without any shadow of a doubt. Fanny and Destraval is the one who has won. You have to go back the furthest. He hasn't won since November 2019. And it's impossible to make a case for him, I think, even in this wide open race like this. He would be the only one, maybe a couple of the Irish ones that I've said, Real Steel, Chris Dream and Tornado Flyer, that I could rule out with any confidence. Absolute nightmare of a race. So when in doubt, Sam Crow. That's it, I'm Sam Crow. I'll do Sam Crow, I think. His last 2 festivals on the day, if he was to trot all over these, you know, people would say, where has that form been? You know, as will I. Because that horse is fantastic on his day. Them days are getting fewer and farther between, though. You know, it's disappointing to see. But I will chance Sam Crow. The safe option in the race, I'd probably say, we can do safe option in this race with it being 5-1 the field. I'd probably have to side with Steve's selection, Min. You know, even though he was pulled up on his last start. You know, if he gets round here, I cannot see him being out the first 3 in this race, really. So, that's the Ryanair Chase. Michael O'Leary, well done. I hope you're proud of yourself in inventing this race. Just what the festival needed. Right, on to the feature race of the day now. The Stayers Hurdle, long distance hurdle, 3 miles. Fuel tanks will need to be full for this one. And Steve is here with a look at some of the protagonists in the race. Steve, over to you, sir. Thank you very much for listening, and all the best.
Now we're going to go on to the feature race on day 3 of the Cheltenham Festival, which is the Stayers Hurdle over 3 miles. In recent days, it's been revealed that Time Hill, the anti-post favourite for the race, is not going to make the lineup due to a problem. Therefore, at the head of the market, we have the winner from 2 years ago, the Emma Lavelle trained Paisley Park. Paisley Park is a horse that's had some well-documented problems himself. He had the world at his feet a couple of years ago, but since then he's turned up at last year's festival, a very warm order favourite, but unfortunately he ran well down the field, a very disappointing run. However, it did come out and it did come out to light since then that he had an irregular heartbeat, which has now been rectified, and it appears on his last 2 runs this season that the problem has been sorted out, and he's back in rude health, and he's raring to go to target on getting that title back. He's a lovely horse. He's a very, very strong stayer. He jumps well in the main, and if he is on his A game, he is the horse they all have to beat in this race. Of the others, there's a couple of horses I'd like to mention that I think are definitely each way plays in this race. The first of which is the Gavin Cromwell trained Flooring Porter. Flooring Porter's had, he's won his last couple of races, beating one of the horses prominent in the market for this race, Inside a Burley. This horse, Flooring Porter, is a horse on the upward curve. He's improving all the time, and you know, he looks to be going the right way. And for me, he's certainly the one that maybe without Paisley Park you'll be looking at, or if Paisley Park wasn't quite on his A game, this might just be the horse to benefit from it. So yeah, Flooring Porter, he's certainly one to look out for. Just of the others I'll mention, a horse owned by Jigginstown stud, which is Fury Road. Fury Road, he's another horse that's a lovely stayer. He appears to be a horse that hasn't quite won at the top level yet, but he's ran well without winning. He was third in last year's Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle behind the mighty Monkfish and a horse called Latest Exhibition that has bypassed Cheltenham this year. But Fury Road is a horse, he certainly doesn't lack ability, and you know, he's a horse that many people will be thinking he's an each way play in this race. He was just touched off last time. He was making his own run in, and he seemed to get away from his companion from the back of the last, but he just seemed to get swallowed up late on in the race. But maybe that was down just to a lack of fitness, and he should be tightened up a little bit going into this race. And you'd imagine that he'll be one that's playing a big part in the back end of the race when it really warms up. So yeah, those are three that would interest me for this Stayers Hurdle. But my selection for the race is going to be the one I spoke about first, the winner from 2 years ago. He's the horse they all have to beat on form, which is Paisley Park from the Emma Lavelle stable.
Fantastic, Steve. Thank you very much for taking a look at the feature race on day 3 of the 2021 Cheltenham Festival, the Stayers Hurdle. Normally one of my favourite races of the week, this, as you know, but this year I must have been a bit underwhelmed by it all this year, mainly due to the fact that mine haven't really kicked on. I was really hoping to take this division by the scruff of the neck when it soon realised that a lot of mine novice chasers that I'd identified were in fact not chasing and running in this race. We start at Paisley Park. Last year, let down, disappointed when a red-hot favourite last year. But as Steve touched on, they seem to think that they've found a problem and an explanation for that, which is all good. It seems back to the level before that. It's looked good this year, beaten by Time Hill on its first run of the year. But it was always going to take a while to get going in the campaign. It won well on its last run. And this horse looks to have a massive chance of retaining its crown. Sire de Burley is a dual festival winner. You know, it's a nice horse. His win over the Storyteller reads well, I think, at this level, because the Storyteller is a Grade 1 chaser. He's also in this race. A workmanlike rather than impressive this season over hurdles, though, I think. And something in the back of my head thinks he's still got a little bit to find to get up to very top level over this trip. I was hoping to see him go chasing, really. He's a half-brother to a listed winning chaser already called Castle du Burley. The dam's very good. Grade 1, Grade 2, 4-time Grade 3 and a listed winning hurdler called Royal Athenia. She's actually a half-sister to a horse that Howard Johnson used to have called Royal Rosa. Very enigmatic, highly talented horse. Bumper horse, probably one of the best I've ever seen. Never really went on after that, though. After the Wileys paid a lot of money for it. And it's also a half-sister to a Grade 1 and a Grade 2 winning hurdler and a Grade 1 fourth bumper horse, Royal Paradise. You know, so I think that one, it could have a chance, but something about me thinks it's going to fall short. Fury Road is one I like. I've always liked this horse since I saw it run to a very high figure as a maiden hurdler and looked at his pedigree and realised that it was quite a nice horse. It did me proud at the festival last year, really. It was seemingly unfancied in the Albert Bartlett last year, but it ran a belting race to finish third behind Monkfish and Time Hill, who would have been a good chance for this race, I think, last year, second in this race. Looking at the Albert Bartlett last year with Monkfish, Time Hill and this. But Time Hill was sadly declared a non-runner for the race. You know, this year again, solid rather than spectacular is the best I can say about the horse, you know. He's such a well-bred horse, you know. He really is. The dam is a half-sister to City Island, who won the Ballymore a couple of years ago. The second dam is a half-sister to Morley Street and Granville again, as well as the sister to the dam of second dam of Ferny Hollow. You know, so it's a nice horse, Fury Road. I think also the course form entitles him to plenty of respect as well. Wouldn't put it past a massive run from him. Vindication, to me, I don't know why they've reverted back to hurdles. He was a perfectly respectable chaser. He was a nice horse. He's actually unbeaten over hurdles. He actually beat Champ by a neck in a novice hurdle back in the day. If he can bounce back, he has to enter calculations, I feel, over the smaller obstacles. And I think he will definitely stay. Flooring Porter, good Grade 1 winner over the Storyteller, also this year over hurdles. This one is only 6 years old, and I can see why Steve has a bit of a soft spot for it, because it's got plenty of years on some of these, and the form of it is good. Listen to Go Oscar, last year's surprise winner. I mean, his first 2 starts this year, people would have been forgiven for thinking, how on earth did he win that race last year? But his last start, although he never really looked like winning, he did run a perfectly honourable race, and he was second, and I think that gives Connections a bit more hope than what they would have had before that race, which would have been little. Moving on now to the aforementioned Storyteller. I mean, this horse runs a hell of a lot, and to me, I think it's a better chaser than it is a hurdler. Maybe they think it's too high for the handicaps. It's got grade one form over fences. I think his hurdle form could leave him a bit short, although he seems certain to run a solid race. But in a race of this nature, I'd be disappointed in it if there wasn't more than three better than him in it. Beacon Edge has to enter calculations, I think. On his last 2 starts, he was 3/4 of a length behind Honeysuckle, and you saw what she did to a champion hurdle field that everyone thought was of a fair quality. And then she beat Fury Road by a neck he beat Fury Road by a neck on his last start. At the prices, that could bring a surprise, I think. If the cap fits, the Munir horse was a decent novice hurdler, but they went chasing with it, and rather like a few I've noticed recently, this chasing has brought no improvement about in him whatsoever. It looks of desperation to me. Let's stick him in the world hurdle. He can't reach what we want him to do over fences. I think that one's risky. The same has to come into most of these now. Bacardi's hasn't won the races he really should have over the years. I really do feel that. And his last few runs make him hard to fancy, I think, and leave him with plenty to find. Reserve Tank. Again, a former Grade 1 novice hurdler, but seems to have completely lost his way over the last 24 months. Looks up against it here. Sam Spinner. It's a decent novice chaser last year and a decent staying hurdler before that. But on his last 2 starts, he just starts like a carnage. You wouldn't want to touch it. Massive questions to answer here on its first hurdle start for nearly 2 years. Little Rockefeller has been an admirable servant for Connections over the years. It's won plenty of races and plenty of money on both the flat and over hurdles. But I think his current form leaves him plenty to find. Main fact, well, the same applies really. He went through the handicap ranks like a knife through butter, winning about 5 or 6 or 7 races on the trot over hurdles and on the flat. But he's exposed at this level now, well and truly, and impossible to fancy. And the same to be said, really, of You Never Call. It's hard to make a case for that one, so I'm not going to waste any time doing it. Right, what do I think will win this race? Not as confident as I hoped I would be at Christmas. It's safe to say that I was hoping that one of Cider Burley or Fury Road would really mark himself down as a proper contender for this race. But they go there, I think, with a bit to prove against the favourite. I think the favourite might have to have an off day here, or Cider Burley or Fury Road will have to improve for either of mine to get in front of the favourite. And I didn't think I'd be saying that at Christmas. And it's disappointing for me to have to say that. One of my other hopes for this race, McFabulous, he's just not turned up. So I don't know what's happened there. Vindication, I can't really, the others I think are too risky. So me, what I will give in this race at the prices, I will give a tentative win selection on the favourite at above 2-1, Paisley Park. Anything above 2-1 I don't touch. But for a horse that was odds on for the race last year against horses that necessarily haven't really thrown their hat into the ring as a challenger as much as I would like. You know, Paisley. Yeah, there's nothing in there that I'd be worried about if I was connections to Paisley Park now Time Hill is out of this race. And I'll also give a stronger each way selection than the win selection, if that makes any sense, on Fury Road. I do think he'll run a good race, Fury Road. His pedigree dictates he will. His course form thinks he will. The way horses he's been near and thereabouts all through the season, the way they've ran, dictates that he's a good horse. I'm just hoping that connections can have him right on the day, and I do think he'll run a good race, without any shadow of a doubt. So they would be my selections for these two races. Can't believe I've just given a 2-1 favourite on the radio, but there you go. These things happen when you look at the facts rather than follow your heart. Right, that's it for the main feature races of the day. I'm going to hand back over now to Steve Allpress, who's quickly going to recap his selections for us for day 3. Thank you very much for listening, and all the best.
So I'm just going to clarify my selections for day 3 of the Cheltenham Festival. In the opening race, the Marsh Novices Chase, Envoy Allen is my selection, with Chantry House and each way alternative. In the Ryanair Chase, a race that obviously I've mentioned, a tricky one, but Min is my selection. On to the Stayers Hurdle, my selection is Paisley Park. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back with my thoughts and selections for day 4 tomorrow. Thank you very much, and goodbye for now.
Thank you very much for the recap there, Steve. Very much appreciated. And may I just say, take this opportunity to thank you very much for finding the time to put together these segments all through the week. It's very much appreciated, and we do it every year. And every year, we just get better and better. It truly is incredible, the progress that you're making. And keep it up, sir. Well done. Absolutely brilliant. So that's it now, really, apart from my selections on the 3rd day of the 2021 Cheltenham Festival. I mean, to me, it's a tough day for me today. I've not really got many selections at all. The first race, the Marsh Novices Chase, I've not really got an interest in any of them. The 2:30 at Cheltenham, I'm going to take a look at Sam Crow, I think, each way. And I'll also be paying quite close attention to the McManus horse in that race, Fakir Duderiz. And in the Stayers Hurdle, above 2-1, Paisley Park, I think, could represent a good selection in this race. And each way, in the same race at 3:05, the Stayers Hurdle, I will select Fury Road. I had a little look at the handicaps, but they look impossible. So I will leave them alone this year on this day. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. We hope to be back for the final day of the festival on Friday. Thank you very much, and all the best.